trouble. So let's move on here and let's get ready for our main discussion. So some other tabs that I have open. I want to talk about Netflix, but not the Netflix that you think. Let's talk about the old Netflix. That's right, the original Netflix, the DVD Blu-ray Netflix that got spun off from Netflix once upon a time. Now it's known as DVD.com, a Netflix company. Yeah, whatever, Netflix. You're never gonna fool us old timers. We know that this is old school Netflix. Hey folks, I just sent this over. I sent this link over to my Twitter, twitter.com/MultimediaJay, before going live for Netflix's DVD by mail service. It ain't over till the fat lady streams. From The Hustle, the business of red envelopes filled with physical DVDs is still profitable. A decade ago, getting the mail was exciting. In addition to letters and trashy magazines addressed to your neighbor, the day's delivery often included Netflix's signature red DVD envelopes. These days, streaming has supplanted the DVD by mail model, but the disc ain't dead yet. Netflix is still sending out envelopes through its DVD.com service. Competition between streaming services has changed the way we watch TV. The big bucks are creating broadly appealing new shows. A must-see series like Little Fires Everywhere or Stranger Things doesn't just pull in subscribers. Yeah, product placement, Hey, a pop-up. In addition to keeping the film buffs happy, DVD.com is also a resource for people in areas with poor broadband access and is surprisingly profitable. 2 million users of the old-school Netflix DVD service, 37.3 million in profits in the fourth quarter of 2019, about $17.34 per user, versus Netflix's streaming service seeing a return of $13.09 per U.S. subscriber. There is a concern that if DVD catalogs disappear, you'll lose some titles forever. Netflix isn't as invested in pumping resources into DVDs, but some industry experts think that there might eventually be value in mining back catalogs to create new services centered on hard-to-find content. Yes, 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 and again, yes. So, here's the thing with DVD Netflix, the old Netflix and whatnot. I don't know if you follow streaming and whatnot, but recently I was over on YouTube and I made a reference to, I think it was the Zach Cox argument that I recently got into. No, it was in response to an Ashley Christ video. I mentioned an old episode of Kitchen Nightmares from, I think, 2007, the Sebastian's episode. Thanks for the follow. Pass me the sauce. My notifications are gaming related, so they won't really fit in with the podcasty stuff that I do, but those showed up, right? Oh, I thought if it was muted, they'd show. Haha, we gotta modify this a bit then. I gotta work on this template afterwards. Thank you for the follow. Pass me the sauce. So let's talk about the old school Netflix here. Recently, I mentioned that I was an old Kitchen Nightmare show circa 2007. So there is a YouTube channel, and do I have an it'll be copyrighted if I show that. There's a YouTube channel out there. There's a company I believe called FilmRise that now has the IP for the old Kitchen Nightmare series. It was a Gordon Ramsay show where Gordon Ramsay went and he reviewed restaurants on Fox a long time ago. And so, well, late 2000s, if that counts. So there is this YouTube channel now, and I thought, oh, this is one of those piracy channels that's going to get taken down by the DMCA because it's got full episodes, TV shows. And then I notice it's actually a company, and they actually edited the uploads. They actually edited the shows and put in a watermark so that, and the big reason I know this is because if you watch the intro to Kitchen Nightmares where Gordon Ramsay is throwing the knife at the screen and whatnot, that whole thing, it used to have I think it's Miserloo is the name of the song by Dick Dale. It's an old surf song. It's an old surf rock song, and it's gone now. It's been modified into a stock track that is very similar but does not contain that music, and that is the watermark of an expired music license. Here is the issue. This is why I believe we should never give up on, even if someone wants to call me a boomer or whatnot for it, I'm an older millennial, so you're a couple generations off. But Here's the situation with disc Netflix. I think at some point, I think this article is right, and I did send it over to my Twitter, at MultimediaJay on Twitter. I sent it over to my Twitter. This article, I believe, really hits the nail on the head with regards to physical media, and one of the things that's going to keep physical media around. Because online stuff can be subject to licensing changes. Yes, indeed. So, The Kitchen Nightmares, obviously, the license for that surf song is done now, so they have to put in a stock track, which means if I go and watch it on this YouTube channel, it's not the same experience as when I binge watched that stuff on Fox On Demand back in the day. Back in the late 2000s when the show was more current. So, it's not just shows that had this happen to them, though. There have been, for example, Grand Theft Auto games where radio stations were pruned or removed because of expiring music license agreements. So you buy the game on Steam, it's not the same experience as when you first played it. Another example of this would be Crazy Taxi. People think Crazy Taxi isn't Crazy Taxi without the Offspring music. The original Ah before this anime thing happened that became a meme. But if you've ever heard that song by The Offspring, that is in the original Crazy Taxi game. Now, there was a version of Crazy Taxi, I believe it was on Steam at one point, that had sound-alike music, but not the actual Offspring songs, and people panned that release. They're like, oh man, the game has changed. I can't play it without that Offspring music, man. Offspring music was Crazy Taxi when I played this on the Dreamcast in 1999, or whatever it was, or in the arcade or something like that. So, this is where physical media has an out from obsolescence. Because when you make a DVD, it's done. Bada bing. And so if you want to see the actual real experience without the risk of something being modified due to an expired license agreement, you're going to want to get a DVD. So, I mean, I'm going to try watching the uncensored full episodes of Kitchen Nightmares on that YouTube channel, but I got a feeling I'm going to get this Uncanny Valley type feeling because of the licensed music being edited out of these uploads that are on YouTube now. So I'm going to try it. But I really think that's the feeling I'm going to get. The wildest example that I've personally experienced when it comes to things changing with online media is Wave Race 64 on the Wii Virtual Console. Let's see here. That's weird, because Stream Elements Overlays is supposed to be visible on here. I'm surprised it's not popping up. Huh. Wow, I'm breaking stuff already. We'll fix that later. So anyways, I've mentioned this before, probably in some YouTube videos, but the Wii version on Virtual Console of Wave Race 64, a Nintendo 64 game about jet ski racing. Very nice game, by the way, for its time. I loved how it handled the water in particular back in those days. It was very fun to play. But I go and play the Wii version, and because the agreement with Kawasaki had expired, there were Nintendo DS and GameCube ads in a Nintendo 64 game that came out in the mid-1990s. That was weird. And that's one of the reasons why I believe Netflix, I'm glad that the DVD service is profitable. I'm so tempted to subscribe to it again. Because I actually think if the delivery times are decent nowadays, I actually think, considering how I watch movies, where I'll watch it once and then that's pretty much it, I think instead of having giant shelves filled with DVDs and Blu-rays, it might be more worth it for me to just toggle a subscription to the disc service on and off and just go through my Netflix queue old school. It might be more cost effective to do that instead of buying movies and Blu-rays and stuff. Because that's the way I treat Blu-rays. I've got plenty of Blu-rays from mostly early 2010s or so when I was collecting for the format because it had such a nice picture. You know, I have a Blu-ray collection, but I don't watch the videos. I don't watch the discs a lot. So I mostly watch on PS3. That's how old my setup is. I have it on PC, but Blu-ray, because of DRM and other software glitch issues, is a nightmare on PC. It's better to just play Blu-ray through a dedicated player if you just want to watch the movies. That's been my experience for years. So, but Netflix disc service. This is the sort of thing that I'm glad that the business is still profitable. I'm very glad the business is still profitable because there is a niche for this, and there is going to be a reason for this to continue existing, despite all the streaming that's going on, and the authenticity of watching the original releases of something that isn't prone to edits after the fact due to expiring license agreements and stuff like that is going to be part of this. On the gaming side of things, old school console games, and having console copies of games instead of buying them through online stuff. That's something to consider as well for certain titles, that they may be more worth playing on the original console than they are now because of things that have expired and rights agreements and stuff. And there are even some games out there because of this kind of stuff that don't have modern counterparts because of business changes that have taken place since they released.